So in today's video, I'm thinking of talking about one of the main reasons personally made me being slower and the difference between how the fuck I learned first language in just a few years fluently and why I'm struggling and kind of spent almost the same amount of time but still struggling with the second one. These are the reasons why you might be not fluent in the language, although even if you would have spent quality time, but still, why are you not fluent? And plus, age, a lot of people say, oh, age does not matter. Age, it is matter, because you can train your brain, convince yourself in so many things that you cannot convince yourself as an adult version, because when you're younger, you can be like, yeah, I'm dreaming of this thing, yeah, I can do whatever I want, but then you're getting hit by the reality as an adult, I'm not longer trusting this world. It's not because your brain is getting rodent, not because it's getting decays or something, but because our mental stage, our mentality is changing. Because of the mentality is changing, thinking clearly as you used to think. The personal background, why the personal let's say stages, things in our life, let's just say things that are having a huge impact on our learning process itself as well, because life is not just your work, not just your health, life is everything combined together. And plus, I've been talking about things that I'm concerned about, things that I'm yeah. Just for the record, English is not my first language. English is not my first language, so I think that since it's not my first language, you can trust me when I'm saying that. I know how to learn language. Moving to another country did not help me to learn a new language. So it doesn't matter how many years you can spend, if you're not really paying attention, you're not gonna learn anything. Although that you're gonna catch up a few words, alphabet, basic phrases. Why do I hate this advice of oh, if you want to learn language in the most efficient, in the most effective, in the most natural and the fastest way as possible, you have to speak with the natives. No, you not. Don't do that. It depends on your character itself, depends on your personality. Yeah, I know that those factors are quite thing, but still not help you as you thought it would help you, but even make everything worse. There's another things that are actually coming with that. It's not about oh, I'm an extroverted person, so I'm not gonna be struggling at all. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. I've moved to South Korea when I did knew Korean for a certain level. I could understand things that people would say, but it would be really hard for me to talk, catch up a lot of hard topics, and I would always feel I'm behind everyone. When I was attending to school, a lot of people used to say, not even in a bad way, but they would be oh, you're not good at Korean. And because I would always being told that, I was and plus, speaking to a native, it's never helping, because native never gonna be oh, so this is the structure that you've used, you have to use a different one. So this is the word that you used. I don't really think. The only time when you actually can understand that you have made a mistake when you're talking to a native and he's trying to kind of analyze what you said, and he's what is he trying to say? What is the word? What is it? What the fuck are you trying to say? This is the time when you be oh, so I did say something wrong. Interesting. Or when you're saying something to them and they're kind of repeating the same thing that you said, but in a different way with a different words or structure as well. Kind of for example, the simplest one, you asking for water. Now they're doing a mistake with the pronunciation or with words, doesn't really matter. And they're you asked me if you can have a water. Do you want water? When they talking to you like a baby, this is when you can understand that you've made a mistake and you don't. Natives, they would never help you. The difference is when I'm talking to my Chinese friends, right? My Chinese friends are still learning Korean as well, and because of that, I don't feel pressure. I'm just comfortably talking to them, having those casual conversations, and they do the same. But when I'm talking to used to my Korean friends, I would be oh my gosh, I have to say that. And the worst thing is that even though I knew how to say the word, how to say the phrase in a right way, I would purposely do a wrong version. I have no idea why. Because I was like so sad. Every time when I'm not able to say the things that I want to say, I'm getting so sad, frustrated. I have this feeling that something is pressuring my chest and I want to cry inside. This is how bad my relationship with being used to be. And sometimes when I'm having a really, really bad days still, but I'm working on them. And plus, I'm too old to be insecure this way. I'm too old. Like, you're no longer like 15-year-old teenage. If you're gonna notice me like shaking or like moving, like interestingly, it's okay. I'm just setting like one of my legs. Although, like, despite it doesn't really matter what kind of personality you have, but the confidence, listen, confidence does not just exist because like you love yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm good. Confidence, so the thing that I'm trying to say, the confidence, it has to have the ground under, right? It comes from the actions that I'm doing. Like, for example, okay, I've learned language by myself. I do consider myself as a smart person, and I have confidence in my let's say brain abilities. Or if you being affected by other people's thoughts, projections, and all of those stuff. If we're gonna take, like, for example, like 100 people and they will tell you, oh, you're ugly as fuck, you're ugly, you're ugly as fuck. Look at your nose, look at your eyes and other features. Aren't you gonna be like, you're not immediately gonna be falling into this trap of like, oh, I'm ugly as fuck, but you're gonna be like, you'll start to question yourself and be like, maybe there's actually something that I have to pay attention on, but I'm just not seeing that. Because you will start to, they kind of like subconsciously gaslighting you, and you're kind of like taking this personal, although that you don't really pay attention, but still, it doesn't matter what kind of a person you'll be like, why are they saying that so many times? Why are they repeatedly saying that over and over again? Huh? Perhaps they know something. When you've been told that, oh, you're not fluent enough, oh, you have to catch up those things, you have to work in that one, you have to work with that one. 아직 한국어 서툴구나. 아직 한국어 잘 못하구나. 생각보다 한국어 좀 별로. 어떡하지? 아니, 완벽한 줄 알았는데 진짜 못하는 거야. 어떡해. 하나도 안 힘들어? 이렇게 한국에서 살면 힘들어하지 않아? Or even if that's kind of like a good concern, like from the teachers at school, they're gonna be like, I know that you're not really good at English. I know that you're not really good at Korean right now, so you can take them. We have those like tablets at school. You can take that, and you can translate out. So each time when you consider this information as like you're not good enough in the language, especially when you try your best, especially when you're like actually like working towards your goals. I know those times when I would be like, I was trying so hard, I was trying to use my old methods, and I would always question myself like, what would be the cause of the reason why I'm still not fluent? One of the hardest thing for me to accept was, as a person who grew from like literally below zero to being absolutely fluent, that's such a shame. Just to accept this idea, just to not trick your brain, but to explain to your brain that, hey, 우리 아직도 주부자라서 뭐 분명한 거 잘 못하는 거지. For our brain, it's kind of like we're going back to the state where we used to be nothing. It's absolutely new environment. You have to realize that you cannot go for the hardest thing ever. Don't try to go for the hardest thing. I know that you want to be fluent, but you have to understand that it takes time. Okay, so I'm gonna take this advanced grammar. We'll learn, right? You will not. You will feel frustrated, you will feel depressed, and you will feel just sorry for yourself. I was like, oh, I don't have to go from like the beginning. I don't need the structure. I'm gonna go for the let's say like BTS Jing. That was a time when Jin posted one of his new songs, When I'm With You or something. I don't remember the name. I just learned the Hangul and I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn the Korean by this song. What was on your mind? Okay, the second is, it caused me a slower learning process was simply because I wasn't depressed actually depressed. I felt so bad. No, before moving to Korea, I went to the doctors. I got some sessions. He gave me those like antidepressant pills, but wasn't like really like harsh. I ended up not really taking them. I moved to Korea when I was in my lowest point. I was working for a few years, ripping my ass off just to get to the dream that I had. But I did not really had a clear vision on my dream, and that's the only thing that stopped me. And because I kind of got this hit by reality, I kind of thought to myself, okay, I failed again. Why is my life always this way? Why everything that I'm trying to do is always like just slipping through my hands, slipping through my fingers? I'm trying my best, I'm trying as much as possible. Why other people are like getting everything and I'm still being at the same fucking point of my life? That's oversharing, but still. The way how people are communicating with each other in every single country that's quite different. And since I developed a lot of like American kind of like habits, behaviors, mindset, and everything, the years when you're like just a fucking sponge, like when you learn a second language, this is the time when you actually develop like second soul. This is a truth. If we're gonna talk about my native language, since I have a lot of like connections to my insecurity, to my past, to the worst version of myself when I was like literally at my lowest. This is why it's not what I'm talking about. Native language, I'm kind of like insecure. I'm like kind of like feeling like I want to talk to anyone now. I'm shy. Just let me a second. I can introduce myself in English. When I'm talking in English, you better watch out because I'm a nasty bitch. Seriously, I wouldn't really call myself a good person. I'm not a good person. You're not a good person as well. A lot of people say, "Oh, she's a good person." How do you know that? Perhaps in someone else's story, in someone else's life, from someone else's perspective and experience with her, she was the worst person ever in her life. In his life. What is the claim of being a good person? I don't really understand this thing. Every single person have done a lot of bad things in their life. They would have never really paid attention to those things. But for other people, that will be a whole trauma. But they would have never thought about it. Why? Because they don't really think that they have done something bad. But perhaps they did. Although that I'm saying, oh, I'm not really a good person. I'm not really a good person when it comes to like, let's say, mindset things. I'm kind of cruel at some points. Kind of like pure when it comes to like caring for people who's actually like loving, who's like important for me. Quite easy to rip, let's say, connection with people. I just know that the connection is not longer useless for any of us. I don't really know how to explain those things, but like don't try to get me wrong. Okay, don't try to get me wrong. We're gonna talk about those things. Like if you kind of like when you're like introvert, it's really hard for you to like have a conversation with people in your own language, let alone another, let alone new one, let alone the one who's you're not really even good at. And I remember, I'm not gonna tell you the concept of the whole situation itself. I'm not really like interested in the conversation or in the person. I'm trying to act as much as possible to be dumb. You might say, you just said that you're afraid of being dumb. I am, but here's the thing: when it is the person who's like kind of like more for me, or when I'm not feeling my best, or when I'm just feeling insecure the whole day, and then I have to talk with the person, I'm like, oh fuck, don't ask me anything. I've seen this person like once in my life and never again. It actually happened like personally, and he asked me like a few questions and then I would answer, but I was kind of like not really involved in the conversation itself. And plus I did not really had a good day either. I kind of got scammed at this day. 내 말을 지금 알아들어? 네. 뭔가 화려한 느낌이 딱 바로 보이지만 너 같은 화려한 사람들이 원래는 안에 아무것도 없어. 원래 너 같은 애들이 뭔가 좀 멍청 같은 단어 알지? 멍청 같은 애들이 화려한 느낌이 있어도 엄청 뭔가 바보 같은. It's like, oh, I don't really try to like translate that, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Is it actually calling me dumb in my face? Straight in my face? Hold on. I'm not getting mad when a person's saying something bad to me. Not because I don't love myself. Listen, I personally truly believe that there's times where you have to like stand up for yourself and be like, the fuck you said. But other times I'm like, Okay, thank you. Living here for a year and a half, I developed kind of this thing like I'm not longer insecure about like my Korean. Although I think that I just have enough. I think they're just so tired like mentally. I've met a lot of bad people actually for this time that I've been here. I've met a good people as well, but they were less. I've received a call. You do getting a lot of calls from some 회사. Let's say 회사. So what? Thank you. they're like, 한국어 혹시 외국 분이세요? And I'm like, 네. 그러니까 한국어 엄청 못하는 말이에요. 제발 꺼주세요. 이런 같은 느낌이. I think I started to look older when I hit my 18s. I think that this is the time when I actually started to look kind of like an adult. And I do think that because I kind of like lost my like baby face puffiness. This is also another reason why I'm like kind of like look older. A lot of people when I'm talking to them, especially in Korean, they're like, listen, you have such a mature vibe, but when I'm talking to you, I'm getting that from a woman, from a man, doesn't really matter of the gender, the way how you present yourself and everything. Because I'm surrounded with the people, even though like my friends outside of like any other surroundings that I have to attend to, it doesn't really matter what I'm trying to say. Anyways, it's all people who's like older than me, and any people who I'm having a relationship like intentionally relationship with, just a relationship, any sort of. It's always people like in their 20s. A lot of my friends attended like colleges, universities. A lot of them almost done with their studies, you know, thinking about this whole thing of like pregnancy and everything. Don't ask me why. And I'm thinking, okay, what if like just for example, so women don't really produce their eggs in the same way as men produce their like sperm things, you know. What I have about like few millions eggs, right? And by the time when they reach in this age of like 18, being left with like 400,000 or like 300,000. That's it. That's it. And the reproducing and the age when you can actually like reproduce, do all of those like things, right, from like 20s, because like you fully develop from like your bone structure and everything is like fully developed from like 20s to 35. The younger you're gonna be, the easier the pregnancy is supposed to be, kind of like. So and I'm like, okay, let's take an example. I want to have like 3 kids, for example, right? So if I want to have 3 kids, the age gap between all of them is supposed to be like at least like 3 years. Okay, let's say 4 years. How the fuck? So I have to give birth when I'll be in my 20s, and then every 4 years I have to get. I'm about to be 19, right? How the fuck in a year I'm supposed to find a husband, stability job, reach everything that I wanted to reach in a career, and then get pregnant, and then gave birth by 21 or 20? Because like we want to do this healthy, in a healthy way. We have to be fast. And I'm just thinking, don't ask me why the fuck I have those thoughts. Personal things. I was just thinking, and I'm like, how am I gonna be able to like catch up with everything that I explained? Anyways, I think that the next one I'll share you the tips that I've been learning, how I'm learning. So in this video, I just wanted to, I know the shit that I'm talking about. I know the things that I'm talking about. And what I'm saying, oh, I'm good at that. I am being good at that, okay? The reasons why I got slower in learning my third language. And I think that the next one I'll tell you how did I learn, how am I still learning languages, what is the best tips for that and everything. But I think that the best way to learn language is to find your own personal way of learning language by trying a lot of different methods, actually. Yeah, the reason why I actually filmed this whole thing today was because I was like, oh, I'm so pretty, I've done my makeup so fucking goodly, so fucking good. I want to get some strawberries, actually. There's something wrong with the audio, because like I've been filming and then the sound kind of like it was gone. How am I gonna deal with that? I have no idea myself, honestly. I think that I just have to keep an eye at this one. That's a mess. That's a mess. Okay, doesn't really matter. So, I don't know which things I've said and it has sound